didn't speak English. I didn't understand the teachers. I had no idea I was going to daycare.
Oh.
This is like a huge moment in my life. It was just such a weird and different world, or like just simple things like just how you clean yourself after the washroom was different. I cannot remember the lady's name for the life of me, but she was just so compassionate to my grandmother and things, and it just really inspired me that I'm like, if I really want to make a change in this world and impact even one life at a time, I want to be a nurse. I'm really enjoying home care. I'm really enjoying that one-on-one time with my client, and you know, like you impact not just their lives but the whole family.
What's it been like with COVID though? What kinds of things have you seen as far as?
So as a nurse, I find it terrifying because I don't know what I'm walking into. I sort of went to my doctor. I was having some issues, and I had started gaining all this weight and I didn't know why, and that's when the doctor was just like, oh, you have polycystic ovarian syndrome, you may not be able to have children, just take the birth control pill, and like that was it. And then I met my husband, and like literally he changed my life because he made me want all those things that I was like okay without having, because I'm like, you know, I love my niece and nephew, I don't need children of my own. I have them, they're like my own.
Hello, Sat Sri Akal, Namaste, Adab. Friends, I'm Sharon Ellie and you're watching Hunny Walia shows. In today's episode of Through the Eyes of a Woman, we have with us Shayroz Khosla. Shayroz, thank you so much for being on our show.
Thanks for having me.
So you were born in Canada, but you felt like you were living in two different worlds. Can you explain to me what that means?
Well, growing up, we didn't speak English in our household because my grandma didn't speak English.
Oh, okay.
Although she knew every bad word there was. And somehow she lived in several continents but only knew our native tongue.
Okay.
But yeah, we didn't speak English, and we just kind of had a different thought length in our home.
Right, right.
Yeah, so it was different. You go to school, you speak English, you wear different clothes, you know, you have a different mindset. So it was different.
So why was it? Just because of your grandma, or why was you couldn't speak English at home, and like the clothes as well? You had to wear
we wore
clothes?
like Indian clothes to like our mosque and stuff.
Right,
and the Smiley, so we went to Kane.
Okay.
But yeah, like it just, you know, you in that mentality, okay, change into your pajamas, you don't want to ruin your good outside clothes and things like that. So it was very different from how my friends lived at home.
Right, right. So would you have friends come over to your place when you were younger? Or?
I had a Smiley friends that would come to my place, but then my other friends, like I didn't really invite them too much into my home.
Right, right. Is it because of the way the home was at the time, like just the traditional things in there?
No, I just really liked going to their home. They had lots of toys in their own room, things I didn't have.
It's more exciting at their place.
Yeah,
right?
definitely. So I just wanted to play with them at their place.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said you ate different foods at school. So did you eat traditional foods at school, or from
oh my gosh,
what was that all about?
My mom would sometimes put curry and rice with like roti in a thermos, and opening that up for lunch.
I can imagine.
So then my mom would make me like, my favorite lunch became like fish stick sandwiches.
Yeah.
And stuff. And so she'd make like really creative things for us. But I was like, I'm not taking Indian food to school anymore. I still remember my first day of daycare. So I didn't speak English until I went to daycare.
Okay.
So my first day, my aunt dropped me off because she lived with us. My grandma and my aunt lived with us. And I didn't speak English. I didn't understand the teachers. I had no idea I was going to daycare. Oh. This is like a huge moment in my life. And so I'm left there and I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. These people seem crazy. They sat me down to write like ABCD, and I'm like, I don't know what they're asking of me.
No.
And then lunchtime came around, and like now I know it was macaroni and cheese. I'm like, what is this? I'm not eating it. Like, thank God my aunt packed me samosas. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna eat these. And then yeah, it was just such a weird and different world, or like just simple things like just how you clean yourself after the washroom was different. Like I didn't, so you know, like nature calls. And you know, I had to, you know, relieve myself.
Right.
So then I'm singing my song where my grandma would normally come to help me clean up. And no one's coming, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I can't say anything. And that was the end of it for me. I was like putting on my jacket, ready to leave the daycare. I didn't know where I'd be going, but I was like, I'm done.
How old were you then?
I think I was 4.
4 years old. You remember all this at 4, eh?
It was so vivid. I was terrified. I couldn't believe they left me.
Do you remember crying at all because they left?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, look at that, hey? So you said it was confusing growing up in this world. Is this kind of what you meant? Like the difference because you were different at home than you were kind of at school? Or
Yeah, it was. And then all of a sudden this big wave happened and Millwoods became more Indian and things. Like before we were like one of the only Indian families around.
Right.
And then all of a sudden I wasn't brown enough.
Right.
Like, I mean, like I can understand Punjabi and all that, but I speak Kutchi, which is kind of like Gujarati.
Right.
But so it was weird that, oh, what, you can't speak Punjabi, you can't do this, or you don't eat like dal chawal every day anymore. Like, no.
So this wasn't, okay, so were you born in Canada?
I was.
Okay, so you lived in Millwoods through your childhood?
My whole life.
In Millwoods. So then you said in the 90s is when suddenly you said you weren't Indian enough.
Yeah.
So you just found that more like people like started coming into Millwoods and more of the...
Yeah, and and then the first Gurudwara went up.
Yeah, okay.
Soon after that.
Yeah.
And just, everyone embraced our culture. And before it was more assimilation. Right. So I was so used to that. And then I'm like, oh, now it's like cool to be brown again. And then people would be like, what's it like growing up brown? I don't know. We better ask the next guy. I have no idea.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
So how old are you about when you started, I guess, feeling more Indian?
Feeling more Indian? I don't think I'm still there yet.
Really?
Yeah. I kind of just like my husband and I are, what would they call that Oreo cookie? Or coconut?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like for some reason my sister's my sister's 5 years older than me.
Yeah.
And she's so engrossed in the culture and we're so polar opposites.
Oh, really?
I think I just missed the bus.
Right, exactly. Was your husband born here? Or?
He was born in Vancouver.
In Vancouver?
Yeah.
Okay. And how did you and your husband meet?
Oh, we actually met online.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
we met on
these days.
Notshadi.com or anything like that. We actually met on a website called plentyoffish.com.
I've heard of that.
Pretty interesting site.
Yes.
Yeah, so it was kind of... I was on the site for like maybe 2 weeks and I was like, oh, I don't think this is for me. Because, the types of messages and stuff you get on there and some of the pictures people send.
Yeah.
So I was like trying to figure out how to delete myself and I wasn't that computer savvy because I didn't grow up with a computer and things like that. So it's kind of... Everything's like a challenge for me, especially with COVID, like having to learn all the technology all of a sudden.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I was trying to delete my profile and then my now husband sent me this message that wasn't just a message, it was like a 2-pager.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just really describing himself, what he's looking for. And I was like, okay, why don't I just give you my number and we start talking? And we met, and the first time we met, I'm like, I think I want to marry him.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
Look at that.
Yeah, it was totally like love at first sight.
I call that fate because you said you were about to, cancel your membership or whatnot from there. And then he messaged you, and look at now you're married.
Yeah, and like 6 months later we were engaged.
Oh,
and,
wow.
Yeah, and then married, and it felt like a dream.
Wow. And how long have you been married now?
Almost 10 years. In October it'll be 10 years.
Yeah. Is your husband Caucasian?
No, he's also Indian.
Okay.
He embraces a different religion than myself.
Okay.
So we're...
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at that. And with the two, now, do you have kids?
We have one daughter named Sophia, and she's 5.
Oh, how sweet. How sweet. So, okay, and then so after you got your nursing degree in 2003, was that after you got married?
No, that was before.
Okay. So what made you decide to choose nursing? Why that field?
So, I grew up in a very family-centered home, and my grandmother became quite ill. I was around 12 or 13 at the time, and she was in and out of hospital, and we really wanted to keep her home with us, even though her needs were much higher than being home. And now being a nurse, I really understand what they were trying to tell us. But it was that wonderful nurse who makes a difference and makes the impact on the patient.
Right,
and
absolutely.
I just remember I cannot remember the lady's name for the life of me, but she was just so compassionate to my grandmother and things, and it just really inspired me that I'm like, if I really want to make a change in this world and impact even one life at a time, I want to be a nurse.
Oh, so that inspires you to kind of want to be a nurse. Oh, that's great. That's great. So that's a caring part of you, helping people in that. So you worked in a hospital, private sector, transplant, and moved to home care. So why the different changes?
Sometimes you just need to move around. Get a little bored, but... I think my favorite place right now, I'm really enjoying home care. I'm really enjoying that one-on-one time with my client, and like you impact not just their lives but the whole family. And it's a really humbling experience. I'm seeing people from all walks of life. It's really different than anything I've ever done before. I spent quite a few years in transplant and organ donation, right? Like, because that was my realm, was the living kidney donor program. And my goodness, like, I really truly believe in transplant and organ donation, and it just such a special place to work, and such a very dedicated staff. Like,
so what did you do? So you said you worked in transplant. So what did you do there? You were just kind of like...
I was the living donor kidney coordinator. So I would assist with the workups of the living donors that were interested in giving a kidney to their loved one, to a friend, or anonymously.
Right. Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And what about in the hospital?
In the hospital, my main areas were nephrology and urology. I just love the kidneys.
Wow, I can tell. Wow. Oh, that's
so that's where I spent kind of most of my life, and that's why home care is so different for me, because I've seen so much more diversity in my career, and applying skills that I didn't think I'd ever use again.
Yeah, interesting. So what made you go to home care? Were you, I guess, was there an opportunity for you to do home care, or just kind of move to that field?
I was looking for something different. I was looking for more of a work-life balance, which definitely isn't in home care. But I'm really loving it. So that's kind of why I really moved. It was just I wanted to find more of a balance at home, but I love the work I'm doing right now, so I'm really happy I moved over.
Right. So for home care, it's usually, is it seniors that you work with more?
But we see a lot of younger people too. We see lots of like wounds, and the goal here is to keep people in their homes for as long as possible. And so what can we do to help people be comfortable in their homes instead of just sending them to long-term care? So that's kind of more of my circle of nursing right now.
Okay, so do you go to their homes, or is this a home that these patients live at?
No, I go to their individual homes.
Okay. And so what's it been like with COVID though? What kinds of things have you seen as far as...
So as a nurse, I find it terrifying, because I don't know what I'm walking into. And
I can imagine.
You screen people over the phone, and then you get there and someone's like coughing or something, so you feel scared to be there. But you're seeing a lot of people decompensating, or people who are too afraid to go to the hospital and then call when their needs are just too great and things. So you're seeing a lot of that. But I'm also seeing some really great stories of people who, without our services, would be in long-term care. And now and then being separated from their spouse or their kids. So we're seeing so many different things right now.
Is there a lot of heartbreak with the patients at home, like with COVID? Are they really scared to go out, and
people
they're scared they'll get COVID? Or
I think getting the vaccine has been really hopeful for people. So as the vaccine has been undergoing, people feel like they're getting their lives back and maybe can visit with their family and friends. Because they are lacking those supports right now. But people, our seniors are pretty afraid to leave their homes, pretty afraid to like go grocery shopping. And part of the problem is people aren't social distancing out there in public too, right? So that is a big concern.
So with the vaccines, so do the seniors that are home right now, homebound, do they have to go out and get the vaccines, or do you bring it into the...
That's a great question, Sharon. The ones that are truly meet the homebound criteria, the vaccination team will be going out to them. And I believe that's already started. Okay, that's good too. So all the areas you've been in, the hospital, transplant, that you've enjoyed, obviously home care the most. For right now, I'm pretty new still, right? I'm only 6 months in. So I don't know if it's the honeymoon phase, but I'm really loving it.
So if you had the opportunity to go back to the hospital and do some other stuff, like...
I don't think I could now. You're so rushed in the hospital with people, and here I mean it's not that you're not rushed, but you feel like you could take your time with them. I could see that. I could see a hospital being a lot more busier, and you're running around, and whereas home you got that one-on-one, right? So even if I'm only there with them for 20 minutes, it's their 20 minutes with no other distraction. So I really love that. So when you go to these homes, do you have to, I know we obviously have to wear the masks, do you have to wear anything else for protection purposes? We use a shield or safety goggles. And then depending on the condition of the home, you'll wear boot covers, maybe a gown, maybe cover your hair up and stuff, depending on what's going on there.
Right. So patients that do have COVID, do you still go and visit them in their homes as far as they need treatment? Or?
So it depends. If they actively have COVID, then no, we won't go in.
Okay.
Just the essential services will go in to see.
Okay.
So we'll do as much as we can virtually with the client. And if they're then if they're long-term care or living in a congregate building and stuff, there are staff designated to go and assess them every day.
Okay, interesting. Great, okay. So you recently published the international best-selling book, You Got This Mama, Healthy Mama.
This has been the best therapy I could have ever given myself.
Wow, so tell us all about this.
So one of my girlfriends was doing a project with the publishing company, and she published or contributed to a book, Time Are You On My Side?
Okay.
And she actually mentioned the publishing company to me, and the project kind of got started. And at first I didn't give it much attention. I just thought, oh, you know, whatever, I'll like write this chapter and it'll be nothing. But this book and working with these amazing women has really opened up a different world for me. You know, sometimes when you work with women, it can be quite challenging. And all of these women that I worked with, including my friend who suggested me to the publishing company, Diana, sorry, I'm getting nervous. It's just everyone wants to hold your hand and lift you up. And it was inspiring. And to work with a group of women like that, it was actually like just an extraordinary experience. So this book, it's kind of a treasure, I think. And these women share their struggles with infertility, with postpartum depression, with the struggles of motherhood or not conceiving at all. And it's quite an eye-opener because some of these challenges like postpartum depression, fertility challenges, they're such a lonely world. You know, and you look at the Facebook world and you look at Twitter and everyone's so happy and smiling and perfect, and then you have your struggles, and it makes it even worse.
Absolutely, I can see that.
So in this book, I share my struggle with infertility, and infant loss or child loss, pregnancy loss. And it was the best thing I could have ever done.
So you've been through this infertility, and are you able to share with us a little bit what you went through? And
so I think I was 18 or 19 when I was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome.
For our viewers that don't know what that is, can you kind of explain to us what that might be?
Absolutely. So polycystic ovarian syndrome is where you develop a bunch multiple cysts over your ovaries, and it makes it more challenging for your ovaries to release the right hormones, to have a regular menstrual cycle, and to ovulate on a regular basis. Also affects the way your body uses insulin. The syndrome can make you gain more weight, acne, hair loss, all sorts of things.
So a lot of hormonal type issues.
And so I sort of went to my doctor. I was having some issues, and I had started gaining all this weight and I didn't know why. And that's when the doctor was just like, oh, you have polycystic ovarian syndrome. You may not be able to have children. Just take the birth control pill. And like, that was it.
That's what he said to you? Just like that?
Yeah, it was my mom's gynecologist. I think that's part of the problem.
Oh, wow. Nothing like, whoa, everything shot at you at once.
Yeah, and like, honestly, growing up, like, you know, women being able to bear children, having fair skin, those were kind of the values. Like, that made you a better woman. It wasn't your education. That added to it. It was kind of like, you know, like the gravy on there. But so it was very shocking. I was so broken. Like, I was just like, how do I even go home and like say anything to my family? And I didn't. For quite a few years. I didn't say anything to them.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I didn't know. I didn't want to disappoint my parents and be like, okay, well, like, because growing up in my household, my sister, she's actually really smart, beautiful, very fair and stuff. And so then I'm like, okay, well, now I'm already dark, and now I'm not going to be like, who's going to want to marry me? How are my parents going to feel? They're going to be so ashamed of me. It was horrible. And then when I finally did tell them, they were broken up. They didn't know how to react.
So how long did you wait before you told them? You were
a couple of years.
So you were 18 when you found out?
18, 19, I can't quite remember.
Yeah. And then you told them a couple of years later.
Yeah, and I kind of mentioned it to them because, I just had to. It was just killing me inside.
Yeah.
They were a bit disappointed. I think my dad was more worried about what my future has entailed for me and things, right? So,
wow, that's a hard thing to go through at such a young age. So then you got married, you met your husband.
Oh my gosh, so there's so much that led up to that because I was just kind of like, after my sister had children, who they're so cute, so adorable, now they're like teenagers almost. I was just kind of like, I'm happy. I don't ever really want to get married and kind of go through that. And my dating life was not good. So I was just like, okay, I'm kind of done with this. And I was more online kind of looking for someone to, go to those weddings with because you don't want to go alone. Or just go to functions with.
Companion.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I could have hired someone for those things.
You could.
I mean, I want dinner out of the experience too, right? So,
escort. Nothing wrong with that.
Oh my God, my parents will kill me.
Yeah, right?
But so I was kind of online looking for a companion. And then I met my husband, and like literally, he changed my life because he made me want all those things that I was like okay without having. Because I'm like, I love my niece and nephew. I don't need children of my own. I have them. They're like my own, and that happiness was there. I have great friends. So I was really settled in the way my life was at the time.
So was it hard telling your husband?
Yeah, it really was, because I started to care for him very deeply, like very quickly. And so I think we had been dating, actually don't even know what we were doing for the first 6 weeks, because my husband he never held my hand.
Oh, wow.
He never, like, if we sat on the couch, he'd be on this side and I'd be on this side.
Very shy?
Yeah, he was just so respectful of me.
That's nice.
Yeah, and like we really spent a lot of time getting to know one another, you know, talking and going out and doing things and stuff. And so I think it was me who really pushed him after it was 6-7 weeks. I was like, his real name is Samir. I'm like, Samir, I need to understand what's going on here. Do you like me as a friend, or do you like me a little bit more?
I can't tell at this point.
I'm just so confused.
That's cute. That's so cute.
Right? That I forced him to hold my hand, and he's like, no, I like you more than a friend.
You forced him to hold your hand? Oh, that's so cute.
And then, things got a little bit more serious. And then a few weeks after that, I told him, I'm like, this is what's going on with me, and this is where we're at. And if you feel like you need more than me to make a family, then I think we should break up. And he looked into my eyes and he was like, I only want you.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Oh my God, I'm gonna cry.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Oh my God, he's such a nice person.
Yeah.
Like, he's just genuinely like one of those like great souls.
It's so nice that you found someone like that. Like, it just makes you feel so much better knowing that, you might not be able to have a family, and you have this person in front of you saying, you're all I need. Type thing.
Just you're enough. Aww. And that's all I need. And I'd never heard that in my life before. And I was just like, oh my gosh.
Aww.
Yeah. And so we just deeply loved each other after that point, I think.
So sweet. And then you got married.
We got married.
Right.
Yeah, that was really fun.
Yeah.
We won't talk about that because it was very stressful planning.
Oh, of course, as always, the Indian wedding, right?
And then I think we got married in October. And then a few months after that, I started pressuring my husband. I really want to try and have children with you. And all of that. And I went to the gynecologist because I was like, okay, here's my issue. And so I started something called Clomid.
Okay.
And if anyone out there has taken Clomid, they realize the struggles with it, because I was literally an insane person. Your hormones are just fluctuating.
So is it like a drug? What is it, a pill?
Yeah, so Clomid is, it's a pill.
Okay.
And what it does is it forces ovulation.
Okay.
So, and you have to do some blood work and stuff and ovulation tests just to make sure it truly works. And then there's, a couple of special days where you engage in relations to ensure It was all worth it.
I like that. A couple of special days. That's cute.
Hey, my mom might watch this.
Yeah. That's cute.
So I felt really sorry for Sam during that time because I was so crazy. Like, I'm just like, how would he want to make that special time with me when I'm just such a psycho? But yeah, I just, the hot flashes, the mood swings.
Oh, wow.
I was like increasing like hair all over your body and just, it's just insane. So I did about 7 cycles of Clomid.
Okay.
Without any success, and just a lot of disappointment, because at that time I was really open with my maternal family that this is what I'm doing and stuff, and so every month it was like a huge disappointment to everybody. And I'm just like, I can't, it was killing me inside. Like, I'm like, that disappointment and just for myself, for my husband, and then having to share that with everyone who I was being open with made me kind of like really go inside myself and just limit the information I started sharing. And then my husband and I started seeing our doctor at the fertility clinic, who let us know that IVF was our only option.
Right.
So I was all in right away. My husband was very, very hesitant to go to IVF. He's like, are you sure you want to do this? It is expensive, but it's also emotionally draining. And at the time, I only kind of thought about my emotions and what my body was going through. I didn't really think about what impact it was having on him. So we went through IVF and our first go was a success.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was 7 years ago now. And so I was so happy. We found out I was pregnant in actually emergency because I had developed a condition called ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome, which is a consequence sometimes of IVF. So my estrogen levels had increased too much and my belly filled with like it's ascites with water. And I developed bilateral pleural effusion, so fluid in my lungs.
Oh boy.
Yeah, my kidney function was not so great at the time, and my liver function. So I was in hospital for a little while because they were draining the fluid and things like that. But I couldn't be any more ecstatic. Like,
and you knew you were pregnant at this time?
Yeah, because I developed the syndrome. So I'm like, oh, for sure, Sam, this totally worked. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't walk.
But you were
I was in so much pain, but I had never been any happier in that moment, right? And when they confirmed it was awesome. And then my fertility doctor came to see me in hospital, and he's like, the worse this gets, the more babies there may be, because we implanted 2 embryos. So I was like, that's great. One shot, I'll never have to go through any of this again. So it took me about 8 weeks to start feeling a little bit better after this syndrome. And I was just like the happiest person in the world. I was literally floating on a cloud. And then I think it was 20 weeks pregnant at the time. We found out the sex of the babies, and it's a boy and girl. And
twins?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And right away we came up with names, Sophia and Sarah. So Sarah stands for pure, and Sophia stands for happiness, which is exactly what we felt.
Absolutely. Like,
our whole family was so excited, and I was just like, don't tell anyone. Right? Because I was just like, I don't, you still, even though I grew up here, I still believe in like evil eye.
Absolutely.
Jinxes. Just all of that. And I'd been so sick at the beginning that I was just like, let's just hold back and not share this news, which was really tough for my mother-in-law. Of course. And my mom too. And then a few days after my ultrasound for that, I started to feel really unwell. And I just felt like my back was hurting a lot more. I felt like my stomach had dropped and just kind of like wasn't feeling 100%. And so I went and I saw my doctor, and she was like, we'll send you for ultrasound. I wouldn't worry or anything. Like, the worst is over because you're past this syndrome. And we went for ultrasound. I was just supposed to go by myself, and then my husband ended up showing up to pick me up from work, which is, if you know my husband, that is so rare for him to do. So, because he's married to me, but he's also married to his job. So for him to leave, it meant so much to me. I was so excited to see him, and thankfully he was with me. We went for ultrasound, and they told me I have no cervix left. And that I need to go to emergency right away. And the radiologist seemed very hopeful. They're like, oh, you know, they can just put some sutures in and you'll be okay. And I was like, okay, so I shouldn't worry, right? Okay. And so like, and even though like as a nurse, you know better when you hear things like that, I was just so delusional during that whole time. And I was like, hey, like everything's gonna be fine. You know, my husband drove me calmly to the hospital. We waited forever, and then they saw me and they said there's no hope left. And I'm like, what are you saying to me? So they took me for ultrasound, and at that point, twin A, which would have been my son, his feet were already out of my cervix.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, no, that's okay. Like, actually, it's 7 years ago today.
7 years ago today.
Yeah, so I thought I would do something more meaningful with today. Yeah, so then it was just kind of a wait and see game. About, okay, will you just deliver twin A and will twin B stay? And you stay in a hospital and hopefully you can preserve that pregnancy. Or, well, both pregnancies demise.
Okay.
And then, you know, they come in, they talk to you about, should we accelerate along your delivery for twin A and things like that? And you're just like, how do you even make a decision like that? Like how?
Yeah, that's got to be the toughest thing to do.
Oh my goodness. So I stayed in hospital for a couple of days, and then my labor started, and both my babies were stillborn.
Oh.
And
I'm sorry to hear that.
That day I realized there's actually a term called bereaved motherhood. And I unfortunately joined the community. So, and that was devastating. Absolutely devastating.
I can't imagine the excitement, and I can't imagine what you went through.
Oh yeah, the second, I think any woman who's experienced pregnancy loss, the moment you find out you're pregnant, you dream a whole life.
Of course.
For yourselves, for your babies, you know, for all of you as a family. And I remember like when I left the hospital, it was just like they gave us these teddy bears, and they like they made some handprints and footprints for us and stuff. But I was just like, my God, like you're still in this bubble, you look so pregnant, you know, and you're just like, how is this even possible? It was just such disbelief. And then April 12th, we had a funeral.
Okay. For both babies?
Yeah.
So how far along were you?
I was 21 weeks.
So just over, what is that, 4 months? 5 months? 5 months.
5 months.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and then it's just such, I just can't even believe that it's been 7 years already. Still feels like yesterday.
Oh, I can
take myself to that moment in a second. But soon after that, we started trying again with IVF, and again, I was the one who was pressuring my husband. So we did about 7 cycles, 2 failed embryo transfers, and 5 failed cycles in the sense that I didn't get to the point where I needed to be for them to even implant them.
Okay.
And then we got pregnant with my daughter.
That's awesome. That's awesome news. So shortly, how many years after? 2 years after.
Yeah, well, it would have been like a year and some months. And then it was almost 2 years to her birth.
Oh, that's amazing. I can't imagine how you would have felt at that point.
Oh my
I'm sure there was fear within you too, right? There's always that fear. I didn't want to tell anyone. I stopped talking to everyone. I was 13 weeks. I was put on bed rest for the rest of my pregnancy. And then at 39 weeks, they induced me. And she didn't want to come out. I'm like, Sophia's so smart. I'm like, it's way safer in there. Exactly. I'm going to keep mama waiting for a while.
That was the hardest labor I've ever had to. But because you know, when they tell you, oh, you should really feel the labor, like don't take the epidural right away, everybody lies to you. They lie. Take the epidural, because I couldn't take anything my first labor, so I'm like, I've already experienced the pain and the sadness and the sorrow that went with that. I'm like, I just kind of want to enjoy this one.
Exactly.
So after about 12 hours, they took the epidural, and that was fantastic.
I'll bet, right? I feel nothing. Oh, that's great. So amazing that you finally had your daughter, Sophia. So that's wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
So see, things can always happen. You know? You never know. You just got to keep trying.
Well, she adds so much happiness to our lives.
I'll bet she does. I'll bet. Oh, that's great. Shayroz, thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
you.
I know it's tough. It gets tough at sometimes, talking about it. But to all viewers out there too, I'm sure they're happy to hear that you're in a better place now with your daughter, and things are better for you, and working out to what you and your husband really wanted as a family.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing with us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
And to our viewers, thank you so much for all your love and support. For more Hunny Walia shows, log on to our YouTube channel and like us on Facebook. To be on Hunny Walia shows, inbox us or message us. Thanks so much. Until next time, take care.